Welcome, welcome, welcome to the TCAT 10-minute take. It is I, your host, Shrey L. Stewart, and with me, as always, is my intrepid co-host, Don the Legend Chambers. And we are in the weeds today, talking about, the end of our Black History Month.
Wait, right hand.
Talking about Judas and the Black Messiah.
Yes.
But before we get started, make sure you click that subscribe button and you click that bell to get all the 10-minute takes as soon as they drop. All right. And as always, Mr. Chambers will go first.
Yes.
And go.
Okay. Judas and the Black Messiah, directed by Shaka King, starring Daniel Kaluuya, Lakeith Stanfield, and an incredible performance by Dominique Fishback. As you know, Daniel Kaluuya plays the late Fred Hampton. Lakeith Stanfield plays William ONeil. Dominique Fishback plays Fred Hampton's love interest. I'm kind of curious. I have to read up some more if she's actually based on a real character or if, she is.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And there was a little tight card at the end, and the son, their son,
That's right.
Runs the
Totally. How silly of me. You're right. And the son grew up, and now they run like another sort of like a Black Panther organization, in his name. That's correct. I kind of blanked out there for a second. Okay, this movie. Let me just say, loved every second of it. And I loved every second because I thought I sort of knew the story of how Fred Hampton died. I knew that the police killed him. I knew that the FBI was involved. And I totally knew that if this was not some sort of accident or any sort of thing that the police or FBI stumbled upon. They targeted him and they went after him and they killed him. I did not know anything about the William ONeil involvement. And I was like, whoa, like the FBI had an informant in there and used that. And I've got to say, knowing that and knowing that if I was an actor that had to play that character, that's tough. And, Lakeith Stanfield has given interviews saying how rough playing that character was because it's like the antithesis of probably everything he believes in, his whole being, and he has to be somebody who is such, I don't know if I can use the term a snake, but he is I think he's just like a weak person, and that weakness was he was willing to team up with the FBI. He was willing to sell them out. I mean, there are moments I thought he might have been remorseful and maybe changed his mind, but then he just goes through with it anyway. I would have had the hardest time to have to portray that character, and man, Stanfield does an incredible job. Kaluuya is amazing as Fred Hampton. I mean, some of his scenes where he's talking to the people and he comes across electric, and Dominique Fishback is just great as sort of like that grounding force for him and that burgeoning family that he's got coming. And it's almost heartbreaking at the end to see her face when he gets killed. I mean, 'cause she's right there when he gets killed. That was hardcore. I mean, this movie just had me angry, but angry in the good way, because it hits you hard with the characters, and then the story, what you're learning, I mean, for me, I'm learning parts I had no clue about, and I'm just like, God damn! And it just made me angrier. But that's good though, because you're learning the history, and you're finding these things out, and you're being touched emotionally. It was good, man.
Where would you put it on our scale?
Oh, this is absolutely opening night. I've got like 2 tubs of popcorn and extra soda and everything. I'm watching this, and on a 1 to 10 scale, this is definitely a 9, 9.5. I can rarely give something a 10. I mean, I don't know if there's a perfect movie out there, but this is getting like that 9, 9.5, because it's it's everything that I needed this movie to be, and I was hoping it was, and that's all I needed. It hit hard. The performances were great. I mean, it shot beautifully. I just everything. I mean, even all the supporting characters were just on point. It,
Right.
no,
Right.
wasn't any weekends. And I have to give Jesse Plemons
Yeah,
much
he was good
kudos
too.
because you kind of hate him in the movie, but he conveys what he needs to. And it's always tough being the bad guy in certain things, and in this
Right.
one, he encapsulates like that FBI. Uh, uh, I don't know if bravado is the word, but that mentality at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody stellar, top notch.
Okay, so here's how I feel about it. I have like mixed emotions about it. Off the top, the movie's great. The performances are great. You know, the directing is great. Like, it is a solid, infuriating, blood pressure rising, watchable movie. Like, opening night, popcorn, snacks, all this stuff. Let me just get that out of the way off the top, so I can get to like what my minuscule gripes are. And this is more about the Hollywood industry in general. Is I don't know how, true to life versus fiction like this is as far as like the actual story. But what I do know is Fred Hampton was 21 when he was shot. And Bill ONeil was 17. And I want to say Deborah Johnson was also like a young teenager. And these actors are late 20s, early 30s. And so they have like, and I wouldn't have never thought about it, but I'm in some of these movie critic review message boards, and, they're talking about how, it would take like the gravitas of an older actor to really get these emotions across and these feelings and these things across. And I'm like, I almost was buying into that, but then I was like, but it takes more to play that than it would to actually do that in real life. And like, it seems like Hollywood takes these young, hot actors who are hot at the time and plugs them in everywhere. And it wouldn't have bothered me, except for Mark and I just watched News of the World, which has a nomination as a screener, which has a nomination thing for that little girl who's in it. And then you have, Haley Stanfield, and you have Jennifer Lawrence, and you have Saoirse Ronan, and you have Anna Paquin. And there's no shortage of under 20-year-old white women who can put forth a performance that's worthy of awards and accolades and gravitas. But yet when it comes to Black performers, they can't seem to find or are willing to look and spend the time to find actors who are the right age, who are much younger. Because I feel like some of that stuff you were saying about Bill ONeil and being a turncoat and a traitor, he feels like that and he's squirrely like that because Lakeith Stanfield's older and feels older and should have known better and is doing this instead of a 17-year-old kid who's in over his head and doesn't know what the fuck he's doing and is just making these wild decisions because he's just trying to get out of mess to mess to mess. He's just trying to survive day to day, because he has like that wildness that comes with youth. And, these actors played the hell out of these roles, but you feel Daniel Kaluuya's like 10 years extra. Like, it doesn't feel like these are just babies doing the best they can. You know what I'm saying? And I think that I'm not saying like it doesn't necessarily take away from the movie that they're not, but I think it would have added to the movie if they were. Something that was maybe a missed opportunity. And so that's my only real gripe, and that has to do more with the just sort of the way the industry treats Black actors as if we're Highlander and there can only be like a handful at a time, and they plug them in everything everywhere.
Right.
Instead of going out and like really searching for, that 17-year-old kid in the middle of nowhere who could be, Saoirse Ronan, who could be Haley Stanfield, who could be Jennifer Lawrence, as a Black actor. They don't take the time to really do that. And that just is something like, I was like, when the message boards were coming in and they were like, these actors brought that to the role, and it was like, you need that. And I was like, I almost bought it. And then I was like, no, but these guys did that and lived that and were that. And they were 17, 18, 19, 20. So why would it take more life experience to play something than it would to be something? And that's just, I don't know what to do about that other than it just be's what it do.
It be's what it do.
Because they did play the hell out of these roles, but there's, something to be said with the dynamic between Bill ONeil and the police officer, the FBI agent by Jesse Plemons, because when you start reading about it, he was a father figure to him, and that's kind of how he hooked him in. Was like the kid didn't have anybody looking out for him. He was in a lot of trouble, and these guys felt like battling equals, and Jesse Plemons felt more like an antagonist than a villain, rather than, it would have been more infuriating if he was like taking this kid under his wing and like making him a part of his family and like manipulating him in an insidious way.
Yeah, because they played it more like he was out for the money, like always looking, what am I going to get? What am I going to
Right. And he wasn't like necessarily squirrely like that. He was just trying to survive day to day to day. And, Bill, he actually wound up killing himself like 20 years later, and I think it has more to do with, being so conflicted about it the entire time rather than just in it for the money.
And I will say this on the Bill ONeil. I think there probably needs to be at least a documentary just on him, because
I think there is something from the 90s.
Well, he's part of that Eyes on the Prize documentary too.
You remember that in school when they would wheel in the TV?
And he has, I think they said that was his only on TV interview where he talks about, or he doesn't really talk about it. He just answers some questions related to the Fred Hampton thing. And I don't know. And maybe it's me not being sympathetic enough to him, and maybe it's because of the situation he's in. Maybe he was never going to say anything. But when he's asked, if he would have done anything different in regards, and he's just like, nope, I think I did everything.
He didn't exactly say that. When I watched it, too, I noticed that he was like, all I can say is I was part of the struggle. And, and I was like, you know what? I feel that because he was 17 and he was just trying to survive. And they had him in a vice. And he didn't have any moves to make other than the moves that he made.
That's true.
And so I feel like from that interview and knowing how old he was versus what we got in the film, there's a disconnect there for me. What we got in the film was, he could have he should have known better. He could have made different decisions. He's an adult. He's choosing to betray these people versus not having any other options in a different way. And I do think that was kind of a missed opportunity, but, no movie's going to be perfect.
Right.
And to get this story across, this movie did a damn good job of it. And, a lot of people don't know a whole lot about the Black Panthers and what they started with and how they came about and what, just gangs in general, kind of how they started and then evolved later into what, what they became. Not necessarily the Black Panthers, but some of the other, street gangs started as these social organizations to help and then turned into later. And as we get into, the 80s and 90s, I mean, a movie like that would be interesting, too, to see. Because
then you would totally see how, the FBI targeted them. And then with the influx of crack and all being purposely brought in,
becomes this cycle of making it worse and making it worse and making it worse until you have this war happening where
that war on drugs now.
It could have been something different.
Yeah.
And so
what's your rating?
Opening night, popcorn, all the snacks. It's a great movie. It's totally great. It's not not to take away from the movie, but just as a commentary on the nature of Hollywood politics in general, the way they view casting. It's sort of the same thing we were talking about with like the colorism issue that we bring up occasionally, where you'll have a black family and always the daughter is essentially light-skinned mixed race for some reason, or they'll just throw in, or you have the craziest thing I always see is when you have like a mixed couple and it's like a white mom and a black dad in a show or movie, and it's an established couple in the show or movie, and then they have a baby and the baby's black as hell, and it's just like like, where did I get that black baby from? This white lady. But I mean, I guess it happens. It definitely happens. Yeah. I'm not gonna say it's impossible, but it is unlikely that would be a thing, because
it's a little funny though. Yeah, it's
hilarious and like, and it'll be like a 3-year-old, like she'll have like this newborn. It's like a 3-year-old black baby, and it's like, come on, you guys, you can't find any other Sharons, but you know it's fine.
Listen, like you said, it bees what it do.
It just smacks to me of it's not that important, so they don't bother. It's not necessarily overt. I'm not saying it's racist. I'm not saying it's colorist. It's just oversight. It's like, it's not that important. You know, just find some black actors and throw them together and call them a family, which a lot of black families look super different. Like, my sisters are light than me. My mom's really light. My dad's really dark. Like, it's just, if that is the case, it just seems like sometimes
they get lazy with it.
They get lazy with it. Like, it's just, they don't care. It's like not that huge of a deal. But then they will go out of their way to like match eye color and hair color and freckle pattern. Like, you know, it's just a priorities thing.
That's true.
More than anything else. Like,
nope, that is true.
But it bees what it do.
It bees what it do. That's why, in terms of priorities, we ask all of the people that watch and listen to make it a priority. Hit that bell. Hit that subscribe button, so that we're always notified when new 10-minute takes show up on our YouTube channel. And also, you know, it's also something you should prioritize, our website, tcatnetwork.com, because on the website we have links to all of our new podcasts that are out, all of our 10-minute takes, as well as Good Morning Antioch and the reading. And you should definitely make sure you're listening and watching Good Morning Antioch. New episodes are out there. Definitely check it out. I think the next movie coming, the new Zack Snyder one, Justice League.
The Justice League.
Here's the one thing I'm going to say on this. I saw a tweet when like the latest or the final trailer came out, and it was about, my mind is blown. To me, I think what is going to blow people's minds is if this movie actually turns out to be good. And for me, it's still 50-50.
Yeah, it's like if Jesus himself was in this movie at this point, and the devil fighting each other with laser swords.
So it's 50-50.
This movie would live up to the hype.
But if this movie actually turns out to be good, I think what's going to blow people's minds is the wasted opportunity then of what could have been the DC universe, because it's so scatterbrained. It's just so one-off-ish in how these movies are. But if this movie is good, I think that will actually hurt even more, because then you sort of will be wondering, man, like what we could have had leading up to this. Like, this could have been the DC Universe Avengers movie.
Right.
And so, I mean, we'll see.
I'm not holding my breath, because I mean, Batman v Superman and Man of Steel, and you know, they were what they were. They were adequate. So I'm assuming this is going to be above adequate.
You know,
maybe.
I mean, already I look at the trailer. I'm like, okay, it's a lot of this weird hue of tan and lots of blues and grays. So Zack Snyder obviously doesn't like color. I get it. He's back at that. So we'll see what happens with that.
Right.
Again.
And if there's more of like the Flashpoint introduction hints instead of like that weird disjointed little droplet of it that we got. Like, and I know there's a ton of other characters. Like Granny Goodness is in there, and Darkseid, instead of random for Darkseid non sequitur that didn't mean anything when he said it, Steppenwolf, and then Martian Manhunter. Like, there's a whole bunch more thrown at the wall, but DC in general has been spaghetti thrown at the wall. So we'll see what sticks.
We shall see. So, yeah, that's going to be. Everybody, make sure you subscribe, hit that bell, because you are going to want to see that review. Because I have a feeling, there's going to be so much to talk about. Yeah. So there's
going to be a lot to talk about, because I'm a DC girl in general, but damn.
Yeah, this is going to be good. This is going to be good. So stick around for that one. So till the next time. See ya.